Hello, my name is Sian Bain and I'm Professor of Digital Education at the University of Edinburgh, and this is my video submission for Falling Walls 2020. So I work at the Murray House School of Education at Edinburgh University. Normally my office looks out onto the old high street of the Edinburgh Old Town, but at the moment, like many other people, I'm working from home. I direct the Edinburgh Centre for Research and Digital Education. I teach on our master's programme in digital education. And I'm also Director of Education for our new Edinburgh Futures Institute. The exciting news is that I'm one of the authors of the Manifesto for Teaching Online, which has just been published this week, in fact, by MIT Press. The manifesto sets out a series of principles and provocations for engaged, critical digital education. Well, I had just in fact left school and I was travelling for a couple of years before going to university. And at the time the wall came down, I was living in a small blue lorry in the Highlands of Scotland. And we were so disconnected from the news that I don't think I even heard about it until later on. I wanted to be a teacher, so yeah, it did. Well, it breaks the assumption that technology is the main driver of the future of education. So the project that's been submitted for Falling Walls develops a methodology for collaboratively designing a future for teaching, which is shaped around the values of teachers and students. And I think this is critical work because although industry often sees itself as the primary disruptive force in education, the form this disruption takes often doesn't align that well with the values of educators and students. And this need not be the case. We will find ourselves, I think, in a difficult place if the future that industry maps out for education does not map onto the preferred futures as they are articulated by communities of learning. So during the COVID lockdown, online education has obviously crashed from the margins to the mainstream, and this has driven home even more than before how critical this issue is. So, for example, the rapid growth of markets for online platforms and partnerships to deliver digital education promises universities a route to survival post-pandemic, but the pedagogic and operational models of platforms are commercially driven and too rarely designed around or responsive to the ways that educators and students define their values and aspirations for the future. So my view is that universities and other education institutions need agile ways and methods for defining their own preferred futures and telling their own stories about what they want the future of teaching to look like. And industry needs to get better at translating that into educational technology development. So the project that's been submitted for Falling Walls is called Near Future Teaching, and it's built on years of interdisciplinary research, both within my own research centre and elsewhere, to develop a methodology through which organisations, and particularly universities, can collaboratively design a better future for digital education within their own communities. After COVID, we want and we will need higher education to rebuild itself around the values of its communities, supported by ethical, responsible technology. And this project is innovative because of the way it puts teachers and students at the centre of that and at the centre of vision development, not technology and technology markets. So such an approach should be basic practice. Not innovation, but currently that's rarely the case. So Near Future Teaching developed an original methodology to work with 400 students, academics and professional staff to build a vision for the future of teaching, which is based in a set of values which were collectively defined by a community. And these values were then extended into a set of actions and a vision for an ethical, progressive future for university teaching with technology. And there's much more on the project and its outcomes in the report, which is downloadable. Really, my vision is for a world where educational technologies are built in direct response to the interests, values, and needs of communities of educators and students. Well, I think we have a long way to go. Every day there are new think tank reports, policies, market reports, and media articles which drive home the message that universities and schools have a skills deficit, that professional educators are behind in their teaching practices, that technology is driving society forward, but that education is not keeping up. And this has been going on for decades now, and I really believe we're on the wrong track. Professional educators across all sectors know what they're doing, they know how to teach, they're open to using technology for the most part, but technology too often fails to align to the values that they hold dear. And I think we can do better. But to do better, we need methods which can help education communities tell their stories. And we need programs of work which connect these stories better to the work of the edtech industry. And this is the focus of my work. Well, generally she is very approving of it, and certainly I hope that as she grows through school, her own digital learning will be creative, responsive, and ethical.